Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number, and I want to thank you for taking the time to, we're 11 minutes late, to wait and hang out, whoever's hanging out in the chat room, those who are listening to us on iTunes Radio, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio. Sorry that we started the program late, but you may not even realize that unless you are tuning in exactly on time every week, which is pretty unusual for folks.
Not in the hair loss world. I'd expect there are a lot of people.
That's true. That's true. But I also think they know that we're always a little late.
Well, if they follow the show on a regular basis, they expect us to start about 10 minutes late. Yeah, and that's fine.
Unbelievable. All right, guys, listen. Come into the room if you want to chat. And my computer just froze, which is really not good, and I can't get it to. I just totally went off. Our phone number is 888-659-3727, and we are live doing our thing here at The Bald Truth. If you are someone who is dealing with hair loss and you don't know who I am or the guy on your left is, I am Spencer, founder of the American Hair Loss Association.
Did you forget your last name again?
Yeah, I'm the author of The Bald Truth, The Truth About Women's Hair Loss. And I also happen to be the founder and director of consumer patient affairs for the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. What does that mean? That means that I have been doing this. I have been suffering with hair loss for more than 30 years. I have been in this field officially for about 21 years. That is when my first book was published back in March of 1998. And I have been doing this program, it will be 21 years come June. All we do here is tell the truth about this industry. All we do here is try to guide you in a safe direction about anything and everything hair loss. If you're considering surgical hair restoration, please understand that this is a cesspool of an industry. In general, 99% of all products that claim to stop, prevent, or treat hair loss do not work. The vast majority of hair transplant surgeons who are claiming to be experts or specialists in this field are not. Any MD or DO can hang up a shingle, buy a turnkey device today, and say that they offer hair transplant surgery on their menus of aesthetic items. It is a fucking mess. Hair transplant surgery is really the most nuanced and one of the most difficult disciplines of cosmetic surgery that exists today. You guys who are considering surgery have to realize that doctors who are doing this and their staff who are performing this procedure are essentially performing mini organ transplants. And every single organ counts. The reality is that the ability to actually fuck up a hair transplant is not, it's really easy. All you have to do is have one staff member who might be a little sloppy, doesn't understand about, proper graft handling, doesn't understand about proper graft placement, or a physician who has no idea about angulation, where graft should be placed, hairline design, which is pretty common today because the vast majority of physicians in this field, especially the new hair transplant industry, have almost zero training when it comes to this. Zero. I know that seems hard to believe, but this is now being sold as a commodity. So if you are considering surgery, if you've had surgery, if you are concerned about your surgery, this is your safe place. If you're considering buying any products or services for hair loss, please, you've got to make sure that the product or service is recommended by the American Hair Loss Association, because most are not. Like I said, 99% of all products that are being sold that claim to stop or prevent or treat hair loss do not work. It is a complete sham industry with a very small group of people who are actually helping people. And I mean small. The good news is if you do your research, you can be helped. But even if you do your research, even if you do your due diligence, not everyone is a candidate for medical treatment, not everyone, or therapy, not everyone is a candidate for surgical treatment. Not everyone with hair loss can be helped. So on this program, our message is your first line of attack should always be acceptance. If you can shave your head and move on, or just cut your hair short and deal with it, then you have fucking won. But if you can't, this is what this program is about, because I wasn't equipped to deal with hair loss at a young age. So I turned my Achilles heel into my career. And just know that if you're new to the broadcast, we are not here to sell you any products or services. That's not going to happen. And when that does happen, and I tell you guys it's time for me to sell out, I'll give you full notice, and then I will walk off into the sunset. Phone number is 888-659-3727. The guy on your left is Joe Tillman, the original hair transplant mentor. Guy's been around the block for a very long time, in the industry for 15 or some odd years, in the trenches, has had 9 hair transplant surgeries because he was fucked up originally because he made the wrong moves. And now he's been part of this broadcast for, I would say, at least a decade to some degree. I think 5 years now, full time. Has it been 5 years already, Joe?
It has been 4 years full time.
4 years full time. Fucking years that flew by, and I am now an old man.
Yeah, 4 years full time. But I first started calling in the show and sticking my little, roots into you to make this happen in 2005.
Oh yeah, I know that. I felt it. I'm like, all right, this guy wants in.
I felt it. This son of a bitch, he's trying to work in about 10, 12 years from now.
He is going to weasel his ass into this. But here's the reality.
I did it.
But here's the reality. Not only did you do it, I would not be here today, and I'm very honest about this, if it wasn't for you, Joe Tillman. I would have retired, and that was my plan. My plan was to get the fuck out while the getting was good. I didn't want to deal with the bullshit of this industry anymore. I didn't want to deal with the fucked up physicians in this industry anymore. I didn't want to deal with the politics of this industry anymore. It is very difficult to be out there telling the truth day in and day out. The truth makes a lot of enemies. And while I'm glad that I have been able to accomplish what I have all these years, we've helped a lot of people. I was like, okay, my goal was 53, I'm retiring. That is what I set with my financial advisor. All my ducks have been in a row. I'm a very fiscally responsible human being, and I was ready to go. And Joe pulled me back in.
But what you don't realize is that there was a plan for you to say no so that I could actually start my own. So I kind of fucked it up by suggesting you stick around.
You did. Well, temporarily. I'll be out before you know it. But no, honestly, and guys, we'll take your calls in a second. 888-659-3727. And guys who are listening on YouTube, Joe Tillman's personal YouTube page, that's youtube.com/hairtransplantmentor. Let us know how oh, here we go. Let us know how the sound is, because for whatever reason, the sound doesn't necessarily translate well on YouTube Live as it does locally and on other resources. Sometimes it's a little low, sometimes it's a little compressed. Some guys just have to turn, I mean, as long as you can turn your volume up and hear it well, then we're fine. That's the best we're going to do at this point. So just let us know. Thanks, Nico. It sounds good. Okay, so 888-659-3727. But the reality is I've decided that because of all the chaos that's happening, and I'm a believer in this, there's tremendous opportunity in chaos, and especially in this field. And I see the opportunity of really turning this field around. Now, I'm getting a lot of resistance from the politicians in this industry, the physicians who do not want to see, for whatever reason, the ISHRS and the American Hair Loss Association and, the organizations that actually the world knows about, they do not want to see us, it appears this way, to succeed in this mission. And I don't know why. We are trying to give them the opportunity to come on board and to work with us and to utilize our resources and to utilize the power of trust that we have built. It is April 5th today. In the month of April, let's see, the American Hair Loss Association has already been referenced, that I'm able to find, if I could find it, 5 times, and in resources like, oh, I can't find it. Anyway, they're mainstream resources. One is like the Philadelphia Inquirer, right?
I'll tell you right now. Here, hold on. It's actually, where is it?
Anyway, but
it was in. No, I got it right here. It was in. We got Bustle, Fast Company, PhillyVoice.com.
There you go. That's all you need. You don't need to keep going.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there's like a list of them here.
And that is just in the month of April. Now, why is that? Is Spencer Kobren or the American Hair Loss Association or the ISHRS sending out press releases like the ISHRS? No. We don't send out press releases. We have become part of the fabric of this culture because we are out there telling the truth. And that is the difference. That is why these other organizations who want to somehow control this field and keep things close to their vest have not been able to get their message out effectively. And now they are all in a fucking panic because the industry is going to hell in a handbasket, and it is finally affecting them financially. But for years, when I was out there saying, listen, this is going to happen. Complete novices are going to get their hands on these devices, or they're going to buy punches, and they're going to. You are promoting hair transplant surgery like it's a nothing fucking procedure because you're afraid if you tell the truth, you're going to lose patients. If you don't make this into a commodity that you can just sell, you are going to lose patients. If you don't turn this into like the old school Bosley model, you are going to lose patients. No one gave a fuck. And now it is a panic like you wouldn't believe. The phone calls that I'm getting, it's like these guys are running around like chickens without their heads, trying to figure the shit out. And I was told by the president of the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery that the ISHRS, and I'm saying this because it's true, will never support the efforts of Spencer Kobren or the ISHRS or the American Hair Loss Association for one reason. Because they want to control the field. I couldn't fucking believe it.
He said this?
He didn't say control the field. He said they wanted control. They didn't want to hand over control to Spencer Kobren. I'm thinking, you guys don't have any control. That is the most ridiculous. I mean, the fact that he actually believes that the ISHRS has some form of control of this field. No one knows who they are in the real world.
I'm kind of confused. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of confused by that, because that would indicate that they feel like they've got some control to begin with. And with all due respect, if anyone had control over this field, we wouldn't be in this position to begin with. Absolutely.
That is the whole key, and I try to explain that to them. There's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which I'm going to write about in our Facebook group. And essentially, that is where people with a very with low abilities have this delusion that they are somehow great at something, or somehow are in power, or somehow have some sort of control. And while that may work, like say you're singing karaoke and you're a terrible singer, it may give you the balls to go up there and sing and have a good time. Not so great when lives are involved. So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but I was really taken aback by the conversation, and it certainly put things into perspective. We were trying to go out there in good faith and work with this group, this organization, who I think has tremendous merit. And their primary goal is to control what's going on in this field. And when I heard the word control, I'm like, oh, that's all I needed to hear. So now, essentially, we're going full force forward, doing what we need to do in order to save, or at least give consumers a fucking fighting chance. That's it. Give them a fighting chance. Give them the opportunity to get the education that they need to make informed decisions, and not hide things, and not blame things on entire countries like Turkey or India. That's not why the industry is where it is today. The industry is where it is today because this has been, and I interviewed somebody, a young doctor actually here in studio, and guys, I'll take your calls in a second, who said something really powerful. He said that this specialty has been shrouded for years. No one really understands what the surgery entails. And that's why so many guys are getting into it, thinking this is a nothing surgery. And it was shrouded by the old guard, by the politicians who are currently in a position to think they're in a position to dictate what goes on in people's practices and how people's lives are going to be affected by this industry. Did I go too far?
Don't think so.
Okay.
I was listening intently. I think it's fair. I mean, look, something needs to be done, but there also needs to be some reality with the perceptions of some people in this industry about how that needs to be done. So, I don't think it's too far.
You know how it needs to be done? Let's work together to kind of create a narrative with that we're creating, and just tell the truth. You can't go wrong with the truth. It's an easy truth to tell. Most doctors out there suck at what they do in this industry. The industry is being completely overrun by non-licensed professionals, or unlicensed professionals, I should say. Everyone's trying to sell bullshit in this industry. That's what this doctor admitted to as well. Whether it's unverifiable PRP, meaning that no one knows what system you're using or what kind of platelets they're re-injecting the people's scalps. All kinds of bullshit that they're trying to sell just to continue to stay afloat. They have to cut their prices because they're competing against these $2, $3 graft guys. And anytime you have to cut your prices, you have to cut corners.
Well, that's the thing, in any capitalist environment, competition is good. Prices
Absolutely.
come down, quality goes up. But the exact opposite is what's happening
in this industry,
our specific field, because of the low barrier to entry with absolute no oversight whatsoever as to how people need to conduct themselves. How, who's qualified to say that, this is a natural hairline design? I dealt with 2 guys today that blew me away with the bad work that they received in the past year and a half. Both were in the UK. And I there's so much to this. I'll just paraphrase. But the way this guy was talking about his experience was that he wasn't sure if it was good work or not. He wasn't completely happy with it, but the clinic that he went to is pressuring him into coming back for a touch up because they said all you need is some more density. I haven't sent you these photos. I took one look at this. My jaw hit the floor. Our industry is descending to where mediocrity is being elite.
It is unfucking believable. In an article that came out in the Daily Mail 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, basically claiming that, and this is set up by UK physicians as though like, if you leave the UK, you're in trouble. I got to tell you, you're fucking in trouble in the UK. There's like, what, 4 guys, maybe, who are doing really state-of-the-art work in the entire United Kingdom.
Let me just quick history lesson for people don't.
And guys,
don't
I'm
know
sorry.
anything
Please hold on. I'm going to take your calls in a second. Joe's got something on his mind.
There's some people that are going to hear this and they're going to be fucking pissed, but I don't give a shit. The UK has had a long history of being one of the worst places to go for a hair transplant. Before FUE was even a thing, as FUE was coming in, I had doctors get pissed off at me because I said, hey, that's good work. Good for you. It's, you've really improved your game over the past several years.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. I've been in this industry forever. I remember reading about that.
To judge me.
I remember reading about that.
Who was this guy to judge? I mean, like, he called the doctor, the clinic I was working at, to complain. And it's like, I'm sorry, is your head so far up your own ass that you can't see what's going on around you, much less what you used to do?
Well, I can tell you that
good work now.
That this guy, and he does do good work now, but I can tell you this: that this guy is I'm not going to say a master politician because he's not a great politician, but this guy is a total politician. He actually told me, the guy you're speaking to, about that he is. I don't want to use the word. I'm not going to say that. That's not going to work. That's not going to fly.
It's not going to translate well.
But essentially, he was like, his concern was that I was being honest and calling out the ISHRS for, just some of their shortcomings. Not that that I was attacking them in any way. Just pointing out, hey, listen, if you do things in another way, you can be much more effective. That's it. That's the reality of what I do. And he was fucking pissed. And he's a big politician. He's got, he slaps his, if there's a podium, you're going to see this fucking guy on the podium. And it's funny because I was talking to this doctor who was here and we've talked about that. And it was a very eloquent, and I think very profound thing that this guy said. He said that he doesn't spend a lot of time behind the podium because he'd rather be in the OR doing the work. And there's a lot of people out there who just constantly need to be seen and write for these industry rags and get these acrylic awards and, be behind the podium. And, anytime you go to a meeting, you get some sort of a fucking plaque. And these people put these plaques up as though it's some sort of a, representative of them having some sort of a skill set. All you have to do is pay the money and show up and you got the plaque. That's it. That's the way this industry works. 888-659-3727. Joe, let's go to the phones.
All right.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can you hear me, Spence?
Yes.
Yeah, I got you guys on speaker, so I wasn't sure.
Who's this?
It's Tim from Jersey. I called in a few weeks back. Actually, it's probably going on months now. I actually had a correspondence with Joe. Joe, I kind of offered you a kidney if you could give me valid advice. I don't know if you remember me.
Did I give you valid advice?
Yeah, you're always helpful, man.
So where's the fucking kidney?
Well, I mean,
I'll send you my address.
that's pending. You know, listen, if you guys can help me out on my repair surgery and guide me in the right direction, dude, that's definitely.
You only have 2 kidneys. If we take the other one, you're dead. Okay?
Yeah.
So it doesn't let's find something else to barter with.
It's been a trying couple of years, so you know, like kidneys definitely in play. I'm just throwing it out there.
All right, so let's talk about, just for those who are tuning in for the first time, did not hear about your experience. In brief, tell us your experience.
Well, I don't know if you remember, I talked to you guys. I had a surgery with Dr. Bloxham about like almost 2 years ago. Had 1,000 grafts put in the front. And all in all, I mean, even though it was like semi-disastrous, it could have been worse. The main issue was how the hairline was a bit too low. The grafts you used were the wrong type of grafts. Some of them are, you know, in the wrong direction as well. So it's put me in a situation where my hairline's, you know, especially in the front, is a bit.
Now, this is what I find interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I do not work with, and Dr. Bloxham is not part of the ISHRS, and he's a very young guy with, I would say, you know, he has more time on tissue now, but not a lot of time on tissue. How is it possible for him to utilize the wrong grafts when I know that they're basically doing mostly strip, no FUE? Yeah. So you're dissecting grafts under 3D under magnification. He was supposedly trained by someone who is really good in this at this. When you say they use the wrong grafts, what are you saying? They place doubles and triples in the hairline or something?
I mean, when I followed up with I actually had some consults with some like reputable doctors that worth the salt in the industry, and that was kind of the verbatim that I got from them, was like some of the grafts were probably used were the wrong type and put in with instruments that might be too big as well. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, I'm like good news, bad news, and good news is I still have a lot of great hair on my head. My native hair looks fantastic. Obviously, bad news is, you know, I'm kind of in a situation where I'm semi boxed in, obviously, but it could be worse. And a lot of it's kind of on me. I mean, I was boxed in at a young age where I say semi-bamboozled into a transplant because it was my fault for being young, naive, and impulsive. But also, I walked into a clinic in my young 20s. This was like pre-age of like Google, not really knowing much about hair transplants, and was definitely talked into a surgery that I did not need. So it really set me down this path. You know, to double down with it a couple of years later with the wrong doctor, of course. So right. It's about getting it right, you know, getting this repair surgery done right, actually doing my due diligence. And, you know, thank God I found you guys and started really doing some work.
Well, listen, I'm glad you found us, and I'm glad that it wasn't, like you said, a total disaster. Like you said, it could have been worse. And that's the thing. There are levels of being fucked up. And, you know, if you are just slightly fucked up, you have a possibility of being repaired, moving on, and living a normal life. The problem with being fucked up, even being slightly fucked up, is that you will never have the opportunity to have the head of hair that you could have had if things went well the first time. That's the reality.
That's right. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, Joe, I don't know if he said he sent you his pictures. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about his situation?
Joe, did you ever get the pictures? Do you remember the email I sent you? We spoke. I spoke about the consults I had with Cole and Cooley. And we spoke briefly about. I asked you about. You know, I had just had a consult with Dr. Wong over Skype, and we talked about, you know, him doing the extractions himself, and then I asked you about Dr. Josephitis and Shapiro Medical Group. I'm not sure if it's ringing a bell. I know you deal with a lot of emails.
I'll just cut you off right there and just let you know that I remember probably nothing at this point of that conversation because it was a while ago, and I'm sorry. It's
all right.
It's left me.
So basically, he has no idea who the fuck you are. So yeah, take that kidney offer back, and let's start fresh.
All right, no problem. Well, my questions really are, the last time I called the show.
Yeah, go ahead.
The last time I called the show, I had only been to 2 consults, and you guys are really a good barometer for telling people when to jump and when not to jump for repair surgery. So the consensus I got from you guys last time I called in was to keep going on consults, don't rush into anything. And honestly, it was sage and valid advice because, it's important that I get this done right. Whether I have to wait another year or 2 years, it doesn't matter. What's important is when I do this repair surgery, it's done right with the right doctor. So,
yeah, that's a bit of advice that, a lot of people, it's hard for them to swallow because people, this is it's a long process, and people want to be corrected or fixed or move on with their lives as quickly as possible. And so many people just rush into it again, and then they're even in a worse position. So I'm glad that you've taken the advice to take your time because, as long as you're able to live a relatively normal life right now, then surgery is always going to be there.
Yeah,
100%.
My life is kind of compromised in a sense, just because of the situation. It's been tough dealing with it. And I've gotten used to it in a sense, but it would be nice to kind of get my life back and not prolong it if I'm ready. The reason I'm calling is because I kind of want to see if maybe get the green light from you guys. I have a surgery set up for next week with Dr. Josephitis. Now, I have been on 5 consults altogether, and basically from the consults, it's kind of been every doctor's come to like the same kind of consensus, which is punching out the really offending grafts in the front.
Sorry, let me interrupt. Do we exchange some emails today?
No, Joe. This
the past few days.
This is weeks ago. So
okay, because I was responding to someone today with also talking about Dr. Josephitis, and okay, never mind. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So basically, the consensus has been from every single doctor I've been to has kind of come up to this with the same conclusion, which is kind of reassuring to the fact that kind of at least I know what needs to be done now, so to speak. So long and short of it is, punching out the offending grafts, possibly, sharpening up my temple areas, maybe doing if we're going to do some regrafting, some FUE, like further back along more of a natural look, and then just filling in my scar. So my question would be like, kind of now that I know what the surgery I need, unless there's like a particular doctor that like I need to go to, like in this field, like if you're getting grafts removed via FUE, getting punched out, like you need to see Dr. X, Y, or Z. Like unless there's a particular doctor that I should be talking to, I feel like all of the doctors I've been to can probably handle this procedure. So I feel like I could be ready, but Spence, I'm in the same ballpark with you. I know you talked in the past about having a down payment for something, and the worst case, keeping it on hold. If I have to like lose that down payment money, it's like, so what? I'm totally in that camp. Like one of the biggest regrets I have is not walking out of Bloxham's office when I had those red flags that day.
Now, what were the red flags again?
It's kind of crazy in hindsight, just because you think about it. But when I went in there day for the surgery, it was when he drew on the hairline that he was going to be doing, it was a little bit different than what we had talked about in the consults. So, because it was a little bit lower, and it kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
It wasn't like too low where he's drawn it near my eyebrows, but when I was in there for surgery, I didn't talk about dropping my hairline because I knew that could be a little bit dicey anytime you lower it.
Right. That's one of the most dangerous things you can do, especially to a younger patient.
1,000%. So, just when he drew it on, I had concerns. Like, I'm like, this looks kind of low. And he was just like, no, this is good. And then he started going over why he did it there. And I was like, well, we kind of had an idea of what we were going to do. I just didn't envision dropping it at all. It wasn't what we exactly had talked about. So
I did a quick search in my email, and I found your emails, but I don't see any photos. Like, did you actually send me photos, or we just talked?
I think we just talked.
Oh,
I can
okay.
email you.
Well, that.
I can email you some photos like
Oh,
later
so then
on.
the kidney offer's back.
Yeah, kidney's back. It's on the table, man.
Yeah, send them real quick while you can. While you're on, while you're talking to us about your experience, if you can.
Sure. But yeah, so to go back to what we were saying, I think between all the doctors I've talked to, and I had a consult with Cole, I had a consult with Cooley, I had a Skype with Juan, I had consult with Wesley, I had a phone consult with Lupinzola. So like they're all renowned, great surgeons in this field, and since they've all kind of come up with the same kind of conclusion to my situation, it kind of feels like the timing might be right. Unless I'm missing something, like, or a certain doctor that I kind of need to see, I feel like there's no reason why I can't have surgery next week, if you understand.
I understand.
Well, one thing I'll say is that it's rare. It's a good thing for you. I think it's great, but it's also rare that you'll send your photos or have consultations with, I think you listed 5 doctors that are top doctors in the world, and they all say the same thing.
Not like exactly the same thing, but it was pretty much,
well, some removal and some addition, right? Basically, is that what they said? Physically remove some of the offending grafts?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm curious about? I don't mean to cut you off, Joe, and I don't remember this part of the story, but what did Dr. Bloxham or his partner say? I mean, did you speak to them afterwards about how you felt about the surgery?
Yeah, and I'm not here to bang on Bloxham. I think the first time I called in, I talked to you about it. And listen, for anyone who has talked to Bloxham or fellow in the past or has surgeries, I've come in with them in the past. Like, this isn't a referendum on them as surgeons or what they do. You might get a good surgery. I don't know. I'm just talking about my experiences in general and what I dealt with personally.
Right.
But yeah, the fallout with Bloxham and Feller, I mean, the kind of what rubbed me the worst of it was when I started having the issues. You could tell that, you could tell from going in there and talking to them that they've been in a situation in the past with certain patients, and you could tell like it's gotten kind of toxic because they're like Bloxham in particular. They were very defensive, and when I say defensive, it was to the point when I came in, they were very quick to distance themselves of any wrongdoing. And I tried to go in there and paint a picture like, listen, it's not about money. I'm not here to
yeah, I'm not trying. We're not trying to bash you or extort you or anything like that.
I just want help. When 6-7 months post surgery, I felt really good about myself. Like, I thought I looked really great. And then once the hair in the very, very front started going in, and when I started having all these problems, I was like, oh crap. And when I started going in there I went up there twice, drove 3 hours to New York, and it was very diminishing because every time I walked in, Bloxham in particular was just like, oh my God, you look great. You look so great. Just distancing himself from any wrongdoing whatsoever in the surgery, to the point where I left his office thinking I was going crazy. Wow, maybe this is all in my head. Maybe I do look great, And then it took me going on my very first consult with Dr. Cole, and the first thing he said to me when I walked in the room was, oh my God, who did this to you? So
Jesus, I'm sorry that. I mean, I love John for being so candid, but that must have hurt too,
Yeah.
It did. Dr. Cole doesn't really pull punches from what I hear, but it was very reassuring for me. I needed to hear it, especially at that time, because I was going through about a month and a half of anxiety and emailing and 2 consults with Bloxham, and him telling me that how everything looks great, everything's fine, everything's coming in nicely, you have no worries, to whereas it was finally got that reaffirmation from another person, no, this is something's wrong here,
Well, listen, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that, and I the reason why I think it's important that people tell those stories, and I'm glad that you prefaced it by saying that this doesn't mean that this is something that's going to happen with these doctors across the board. This is my personal experience, and that's great, because a lot of people wouldn't have the self-control or the resolve, I should say, to say that. Mm-hmm. But with that said, I think this is a cautionary tale for all physicians who are listening to the program to just be like, listen to the patient. If you listen to the patient all the way through from beginning to end, if the patient thinks, and it's very unusual for a patient to balk on a lower hairline design, usually it's the other way around. If the patient says, hey, this isn't what we discussed, step back. If the patient wants a higher hairline, that's a better thing for you. You know? So I think it's really important that doctors take this as a cautionary tale, and also patients, to just listen to what the patient wants. And if something goes wrong, you guys really just have to embrace that patient and say, you know what? While we may think that this looks okay, I understand that you're unhappy with it. Let's see what we can do to help you, as opposed to trying to distance themselves from the problem.
Yeah, and the more I read online, like once you start getting in depth with these forums and the more research you do, there was a lot of situations where I guess it got kind of toxic on openly between, like, you know, fallout from Feller and I guess prior people, you know, who were unhappy, like, post results. So I guess maybe that was.
You got to understand that, especially back then, when you know these guys, when that particular doctor was very active, it was a very toxic environment in general on the site that you're probably talking about. You know, we would not allow that type of toxicity on Bald Truth Talk. I mean, I do not think that a physician should ever go online and threaten, and I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not talking about this particular physician, I'm talking about any physician, threaten or talk about somebody's case, or, you know, just, it shouldn't be allowed. And you know what? Forum owners shouldn't allow it either. That should be something that physician, you know, the physician-patient relationship should be sacred. And that's another thing that's just made this industry into such shit and commoditized it. And it's sad to hear and to see. And when you bring this up, it reminds me of the toxicity of the message forums. And
well, I think also.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think it predicated just how defensive they were, maybe just from the past relationships, because I really wasn't there to extort them or get money. It was really I was just looking for help at that time, you know, because it was just at a point where, like, I knew there was something wrong, and obviously it just, they were just either unwilling to help me or unwilling to admit any kind of wrongdoing within the procedure, which is fine. And I'm not, it's really all about me. Like, it's on me in the end. No one can force someone to have elective surgery, so I have to own it. And there were red flags where I should have walked away from. So this falls on me, and that's something I have to live with, you know. But the point is, what I'm making isn't about Bloxham, isn't about Feller. It isn't about the first doctor years and years ago. It's about where I am now and getting the repair surgery that I deserve and moving on with my life. So, like, that's really my end goal. Is not getting, you know, money would be nice, you know, or maybe someday I can get an email from Dr. Bloxham and, you know, you can kind of own up to some things. But, you know, I'm not really looking for that. Right now, I'm just looking to move on with my life and get the repair surgery that I think I deserve.
Well, I think you're right. And you know what? You're right. You got to put the past in the past. And you learn from those mistakes, and you see all the red flags. You understand what you need to do to potentially, you know, move forward in your life. I think you've had some consults with some really great doctors. And I'm sorry if I'm getting a text right now about this as we speak, which is interesting. Believe it or not.
You're getting a text about this?
Yeah, so people are listening, which is great. I just want you to know. Doctors are listening.
There you go.
But as far as your consultations are concerned, I think that if, like Joe said, if all of these people, hold on for a second. Sorry.
I'll continue. What I was saying is if all these top doctors are
if all these
agreeing,
people,
basically.
Exactly. Sorry, Joe.
That means there's something wrong.
Yeah, if all of them are agreeing, there's definitely something going on. But also, if all of them are agreeing about the same course of action, that, to me, would give me a lot more confidence to move forward, because that's, like you said, that's very rare. You can go to
No,
10
you're right.
IHRS doctors, and you're going to get, that's why it's called the practice of medicine. You can get 10 different possible assessments of what they can do for you and how they would go about it. So I would say that, you're in a good position as far as being confident moving forward for repair surgery.
Okay. Because it's Tuesday, so unless I walk in and it's like a complete shit show as was last time, like where I see the flags, like I am prepared to go forward with things, but it is nice to kind of get the thumbs up on approval. Cause,
wait a second. You scheduled the surgery for next Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. Yes, sir.
All right, with who?
Dr. Josephitis.
Okay, well, you're in good hands.
Yeah.
You're definitely in good hands. Shapiro Medical has a great staff. Listen, there's no guarantees, but if you feel confident and you're ready, then you're ready. But you're right. If you walk in there and you see anything off, forget about your deposit. Get the fuck out of there.
And as you're running out, say, "I'm telling Joe."
Yeah. But you know what to look for now. So I think you're in a much better position than most patients.
Have you sent the photos while we've been talking?
No, Joe. I wasn't able to get it going, but I'll do that at a later juncture just to let you know.
And that's fine. Ultimately, look, you've obviously made some great decisions on just getting input regarding the different clinics that you are consulting with. I know them all. I know them all well. I work with, I think, all of them. I think all the ones that you mentioned. Now Dr. Cole, because you mentioned Dr. Cole. He's the latest addition to hairtransplantmentor.com as of 2 days ago. So I know that any one of them would do potentially a great effing job on you, but you pick Dr. Josephitis. I think that he's one of the, how can I put this? Not least appreciated, but I think that he's, I don't think his reputation is as big as it should be. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a fantastic hair transplant physician, and he certainly has had a great, I guess, he worked in the industry before he joined Shapiro, but I think he's had a great molding, if you will, by being at Shapiro Medical for so long. And
what's interesting? He's never applied to the IHRS, and I'm not sure if it's because Ron and his brother are members, and they just kind of feel like, well, we're not going to bring in the third doctor. So, with the work that I have seen, and as far as like looking at our database, I don't get any complaints about Josephitis. So if he were to apply to the organization, there's a really good chance that I would bring him on board for sure. So I think you are, like Joe said, you are in good hands. And this, all we can do is, wish you the best of luck. Fingers crossed. If there's something that you think is off on that day, you know what to do. But I have a feeling you're probably going to have a good experience.
I hope so. I haven't rushed into it because it's almost been like a 2-year process, and I'm willing, like I said, I'm willing to wait another 2-3 years if need be. But I don't feel like I necessarily have to. I feel like the time could be just based on all the information and feedback I got from the consults.
Well, listen, so. You've listened to the program, you waited your time, you did your due diligence, and if you feel the time is right, then the time is probably right. And I think that you're going in. To my knowledge, again, no guarantees. I think you're going in the right direction. So we're going to take some more calls. I really wish you the best of luck with your repair surgery. I hope that you call us. You're having on Tuesday. So,
Yeah, Tuesday. I might give you a call. What about, loopy on the Tylenol codeine or whatever.
Well, you know what? You let them know. You let them know that you're going to call the ball truth and talk about the surgery. And they may roll out the red carpet for you.
Yeah, maybe I'll either have a good story or I'll tell you if I came out of there running and, lost my deposit. Either or. I'll definitely give you guys a call.
I have a feeling you're going to have a good experience. I wish you the best of luck, dude.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for calling.
The phone number is 888-659-3727, 888-659-3727. We got some calls in the line, but I wanted to, real briefly, I wanted to let this guy know that he is absolutely in excellent hands. I don't mean to say that just because Josephitis did not apply to the IHRS, that there's anything wrong with him not being a member of the IHRS. Just hasn't applied. But we take a look at, we are the clearinghouse for complaints, and we take a look at everybody's work in this industry. So I would feel pretty confident sending anybody to Josephitis.
Well said.
What are you going to do? All right, let's take this call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Spencer, it's Dr. Yazdan. I'm calling from Newport Beach.
Hey, Doc. Thanks for listening, man. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Dude, we're hanging out. Everything's good. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the last caller, but this is a guy who had 2 bad surgeries. He's going in for a repair, and it's just it's the reality. This industry is such a mess. His last surgery was like 2 years ago by a physician who's young and supposed to know what he's doing.
Right. Well, man, I mean, I didn't hear that, and it is something I see a lot. But I was actually calling you because I got this thing in my office today. I'm just looking at it right now, and I wanted to let everyone know that they can make $291,600 per year without having to do anything. This is literally the advertisement I got, and it's from SmartGraph.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding. I'm going to text you a picture of this. It says, buy a SmartGraph from us. First case for the month, 2,000 grafts at $6 per graft. You get $12,000 patient cost. And then I guess you pay 2 techs $1.25 per graft plus expenses. And then a lease payment of $2,400, consumables of $100, which I don't understand. My consumables are much higher than $100.
Yeah.
And you net $6,500. Second case per month nets you $8,900. And then it says 3 cases per month nets your office $24,300 per month, or $291,600 per year without you having to do anything. That's exactly what it says, man.
That is unfucking believable. Now, so you're telling me all I have to do is find some doctor who's not busy, and and I could open up a rent a space, and I'm in business.
Right. It looks like they'll
at this
set
point.
up
Sorry for interrupting, but at this point, fuck it. I'm opening a kiosk in the mall.
Right. I mean,
that's what I'm doing.
I mean, I hadn't been in my office for 2 days. I was away for a conference.
Yeah.
I literally came in. This is the mail that's sitting on my thing. The future of hair restoration is here now. Buy a smart graft, and I mean this whole thing. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Like I can't even explain how much training I did and how much practice I did, to be able to do what I do. And it's like what these guys are selling is crazy. I feel bad for doctors that are actually buying this and jumping into this. I feel worse for patients. I mean, look at your previous caller. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to hear it, but dude, it's just messed up. This is just wrong.
Well,
but Doc, you should also feel bad because you wasted all that time training. You could have just waited until the technology catch up.
Doc, you didn't have to go to medical school.
I know. I could have done nothing. Yeah, I could have made $300,000
wasting so much money on med school. Yeah,
I screwed up. No,
but Dr. Yazdan, I mean,
this is scary.
This is the reality of the industry today. And the ISHRS, who's concentrating on this whole black market nonsense in other countries, the black market is here. This is where it's happening, and this is where it's growing, and it's growing exponentially.
Right. I agree.
And
it's tough. It's tough to combat this because, you get these kinds of ads. Hey, you make $300,000 a year without having to do anything. And, doctors aren't realizing that this is real surgery. Patients get really harmed when things go wrong. I mean, my case on Monday was removing cysts out of some guy's head who, had a bad surgery, and the grafts were just implanted way too deep, and they were double implanted, and he had huge cysts. One of them was almost the size of, I'd say, like close to a ping pong ball.
You're kidding me.
And
Now, was this done? Was
I'll
this
send you
done
pictures.
locally? Was this done in Southern California?
This was done in Newport Beach.
You are
right down the street from my office in Newport Beach.
You're kidding me. Now, was it done by
Nope.
a hair transplant
Neograft.
surgeon or
Neograft?
Neograft? Yeah.
Yep.
Now, this is what kills me when I hear stories like this, and I mean, I am trying to convince the politicians and the old guard that we need to band together to make this go away, and they do not want to do it. What is holding them back? I guess it's because maybe they're doing the same shit.
It's the money, man. It's the money.
Yeah, but they're losing money.
You're talking about but you're talking about cutting off the lifeline. You're not losing money though. Imagine if you're 50 years old, you got 2 rooms set up, you got 2 guys, or 2 techs in each room doing a surgery for you, and you're sitting in your office watching YouTube or something. Life is good, man, but that's not the right thing. I mean, I always say it, if you're going to go in and have eye surgery, you're not going to let an assistant or a technician, do surgery on your eyes. Why is this any different?
Well, listen, and that's well said.
It's the money.
Well, listen, it absolutely is the money, but I guess it's maybe the hypocrisy of it, because the old guard, say the board of governors of the ISHRS, the guys that are supposed to be out there trying to improve the field and to maintain the integrity of this field, for some reason, I don't know if it's subterfuge or what, they are taking the focus of what's happening here and focusing on Turkey and India and other places around the world.
This has nothing to do with Turkey and India. I mean, I see a lot of bad crap coming out of Turkey. Actually, I don't really see it too much anymore because we don't see the patients at my practice for Turkey complications, because it's just a lot of it is not repairable.
Yeah.
But this is happening right here in the United States. Las Vegas, I'll throw out, is one of the worst places in the country, I think, to have a hair transplant surgery.
Dude, that is so funny that you say that, Doc, because there's a guy out there that has been in it forever. I don't even know how he's still standing. He's had more facelifts than I mean, this guy is still working. And the work, and you may know who I'm talking about, the work that is coming out of Las Vegas it's atrocious.
Oh, well, I'm the one repairing all that work.
I know.
It's all coming to me, because the first
it's almost as bad as the UK.
You've looked me up. I don't market. I don't do much advertising. It's not my thing. I have my my stuff runs on its own. It's great, and I'm happy where I'm at. But here's the thing: people are getting messed up. They're having the botched case, and then they're doing 3 times the amount of homework to find who can repair it. And in the Vegas market, it's really me. It's all that stuff that you're seeing. It's coming to me, and it sucks. I feel bad for the patients, and it's tough. It's tough seeing this. I started this almost 10 years ago. It wasn't like this. The last few years, man, it's gotten bad. It's like a wildfire that's or like a runaway train.
Yeah.
It's going to come off the track.
Well, the only problem with this is that this kind of procedure and this kind of approach has, we were talking about this earlier in the broadcast, where I was talking about how capitalism, brings prices down, competition goes up. Well, and supposedly quality gets better. Well, that's not what's happening here. But because prices are going down, it's making this procedure available to a larger demographic, a larger financial demographic that normally wouldn't be able to afford better procedures. And it gets even worse when they get really screwed up, and then they can't afford a proper repair procedure by someone that actually knows what they're doing, because they've already spent all the money they'd ever saved in their lives for this cheap cut rate procedure to begin with.
Well, I'll tell you what's even more fascinating to me, and the Dr. Yazdan has been to my studio. He knows essentially where I live, and he knows the area that I'm in. I had a guy who was down at the club, sitting at the bar, and this is a true story. He pulled a flyer out of his pocket. This guy, his least expensive car is a Ferrari California, and there was a flyer on his windshield in Beverly Hills for a neograft procedure, $3 a graft. And he pulls it out and he's like, "Hey, Spence, is this a good deal?" And this guy this guy could afford anything he wants, but in his mind, why not get a good deal? It's a commodity. It's not real surgery. And,
you know, Spence,
yeah.
there's that saying, the cheap comes out expensive.
Yeah.
That's what it is, man. I mean, that's just what it is. It's rough. I mean, I don't know why people are looking for the cheapest option for their body. You have one body, right? I mean, you're not going to eat bad food if you don't have to. Why are you going to, you know, cheap out on a surgery in order to be botched and, you know, have to get, you know, spend double the amount just to try to get it fixed? It's not going to be as good as the beginning.
You're speaking as a reasonable, caring physician, someone who's really trained, who actually does the surgery himself, as opposed to a lot of these older guys. And you're speaking from a different, you know, a point of view. You're not one of the old guard. These guys kept everything shrouded for years. They didn't want people to know this was real surgery. They wanted to think that it was like a simple trip to the dentist, a simple outpatient procedure. You take a look at the old Bosley ads with the hair flying from the back of the scalp to the front. It makes it look like it's a nothing procedure. And that's the way they set the table. They set the tone for what is happening today. And now, like you said, it is a runaway train. I believe we can turn the ship around, especially here in the U.S. and parts of Europe.
Sure.
But these guys have to listen. And if they don't, then they have to move out of our way.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to listen when you can make $300,000 a year without having to do anything, right? I mean,
Jesus.
It's crazy, man. I'm going to text this to you, though. I mean, you could throw this up maybe on the website, but I mean, I can't even make this up. This is the stuff that, you know, is coming to doctors. And I'm a hair guy. I'm a hair transplant guy.
I know.
I don't know why they're sending this to me, but, you know, at least they probably sent it to all the offices in my building.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, that's probably what it was. But it's like, why would I buy this? And, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I just want to say a thing before I let you go. And we're going to take some more calls. And Dr. Yazdan, we love when physicians, when IHRS members call this program. I mean, this is, first of all, it's a really sad a testament to what's happening in this field. But I can't blame the device manufacturers. Cannot, because they're in business to sell boxes. They're in business.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, it's the physicians who are willing to do this and buy this and and give permission under the auspices of their license to non-licensed personnel to perform surgery in their offices. Those are the bad guys.
Yeah. I agree.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
we need to be ethical. Yeah, we need to be ethical. We need to, you know, understand that you can't delegate this kind of stuff to assistants and technicians. You can't let assistants and technicians do surgery. Yeah, that's just the bottom line.
And as far as the
it's
smart
not a device manufacturer.
Yeah, and as far as the smart graft is concerned, as far as small footprint devices are concerned, it's a pretty good one. I mean, some people talk about they'd rather have some smaller punches and they're working on things, but in general, it's pretty good if it's used by someone who knows what they're doing and is licensed to do so.
Sure. And I've never used it, so I'm not going to knock it for being good or bad.
Right.
But what I can tell you is none of the real hair guys, we're not using smart grafts and neografts. None of us are. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of guys that do good hair transplants. None of them are like boasting about how great their smart graft is.
Well,
so it may be the best device, you know, and you may do excellent surgeries with it. I just don't see, you know, real hair guys using these devices.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a few, but in general, that is true. In general, that's absolutely true. And look, Doc, you know, we just need more young guys who are willing to kind of have a voice like yourself to help guide consumers in a safe direction. Because I got to tell you, the guys my age and older, I mean, and I think I told you this on the air last time. I mean, they are not only physical dinosaurs, they are mental cripples and dinosaurs at this point, because they are so shit scared that they won't be able to make a living unless they make these compromises and cut these corners.
Right.
And in the end, patients are being harmed, and that's what we need to stop. And I think we can do it.
Right. I agree.
All right, Doc. Listen, I really appreciate. Listen, guys, if you are considering actually getting a decent surgery and you're in Southern California, go to ihrs.org and check out Dr. Yazdan. And he is just he's a doctor's doctor. So
his profile I just linked in the chat room for anyone on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I normally
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, listen, I'm not a guy. I'm not a guy to pimp doctors out, but I have to be honest with you, man. I mean, it's hard to find someone who's actually doing the work themselves today.
Yeah.
So you should be proud of yourself.
Practice, I do. Yeah, I do the work. So patients know that if they come here, I'm standing there doing it, not assistants or technicians or something like that.
All right, Doc. Listen, thanks for taking the time to call in.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
All right, have a good weekend, guys.
You too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Phone number 888-659-3727. I wish more guys would call in with stories like that.
He sounds passionate. I've never talked to the guy before, but he sounds passionate.
He's fucking smart,
like
too.
that.
He's a smart dude. He's young. And when I say young, I mean, he's not a kid, but he's like, 38 or 39, on his, getting close to 40. So he has the experience. He's been a doctor long enough, and he has enough experience and time on tissue to know what the fuck he's doing. But he's also young enough and in shape to actually perform the surgery himself and not rely on, technicians doing it. And he's right. It's kind of hard to turn down. Buy this machine, and you can make $300,000 a year doing nothing just by hiring our per diem techs.
If my practice was basically filled with Botox bitches, and I wanted to double my income, my revenue, it's like you're telling me I can double my revenue and I don't have to do a damn thing except pay the lease and the consumables. Fuck, sign me up.
But I can tell you this: there are a lot of doctors out there that are having a lot of problems. Okay, there are doctors who have had their license suspended; they're just getting their license back. There are people who have just questionable issues dealing with. They can't control their own practices. If you just need a doctor to sign off on this shit, like you're buying ED medication online, which is actually there's been some big news about that stuff. When it's time for me to get out of this completely, and if I just want to sell out, I'll rent the entire penthouse across the street. I will get 15 machines, a couple of doctors and techs, and we could run a mill. But
if I want to cash out, I will move to another country and I will do it all myself and advertise it.
Yeah, you can.
I know.
You could be the tech. You can actually be hands-on and do it yourself.
I know. And I do a good job at it, too.
Jesus Christ. This industry is so fucked up. And these fuckers, man, these politicians, they claim they give a shit. They don't give a shit. They do not give a shit. Because if they did, I wouldn't have heard from the president of the ISHRS that the ISHRS will never support Spencer Kobren. Because
I'm surprised to hear that.
Because they don't want to lose control. Those were his words. They don't want their future in the control under my control. So how would your future be under my control? I don't even understand that concept.
I'd feel pretty good if you were guiding my future. I trust you.
But I appreciate that. But even if by collaborating, how would your future be under my control? That is the most ridiculous statement I have ever heard.
Here's the interesting thing about me is, we've kind of, combined forces online, but we both know it's like, yeah, I'm not controlling your future. You're not controlling my future. And at any time, if I want to go not be a part of the show, I can do that. And it's like, same with you. You're
I told you from the very beginning. I said, "Look, dude, you remember that talk?
Work, you can go away."
I said, "I'd love you to be part of the program. I'd love you to be a co-host of the show. But if there's a day that comes that I say I don't like this, you're gone. That's it. We don't work together. No hard feelings."
And the great thing is, it wouldn't. It's like that wouldn't be the end of my career. Like it doesn't control everything, right?
No.
It's like, in fact, if anything, it's helped,
right?
Obviously, but it's like go on. It's like, yeah. So this we don't want anyone controlling or you. That doesn't make sense to me. I really don't get that.
You know what? It's weak people are afraid to ask for help, and that's why they remain weak. They're scared. They're fearful. I don't understand it, but it's for every misstep they continue to make, lives are being destroyed. So guys who are listening to this show, doctors and patients, be fucking careful. If someone has a whole bunch of awards, you see them on a podium all the time, you might want to really research them. You want people who are spending time in the OR. And there's a handful of guys who are actually, like John Cole, for instance, he's traveling all the time because he's actually training people. There's a difference. It's not
the
just
guy
for
doesn't sleep.
He
blows my mind.
It's not just for a fucking photo op. It's fucking industry. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, boys, it's Nico. How do?
Nico, man, what's happening?
Nico, what up?
Ooh, what's going on?
Just chilling. So how do you like today's show?
Oh, it was good, man. Yeah, that's what I was asking about. I'd heard the doctor do, I guess he was in TBT Studios. I saw that when he was on Instagram, and he sounds interesting, young, but I like his, like Joe said, his enthusiasm, and sounds like he's right on to shit. So
well, he actually he is young. He looks younger than he actually is. So if you saw him on video, he looks like a kid, but he's not like it's not like Doogie Howser. I mean, the guy's almost 40.
Yeah, no, I like his attitude too, and it sounds like it's great intentions. Fucking got some balls. I like that.
He's got balls. He's willing to tell the truth. Not too many guys in this industry have the balls to tell the truth. They all have. And actually, I was speaking to another guy, this guy Chris Verona, who's in the same area as Dr. Yazdan as well, and he said that this is going to make him very unpopular, because everyone has to turn the other cheek or turn a blind eye to everything that's going on. But he said, what is going on in this field here in the United States is a travesty. And he was willing to say that. He was willing to say a lot, and I'm going to be putting that out there for public consumption. I think a lot of doctors are going to be surprised when they see this interview.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I like his tone, man, for sure. Yeah, I had a couple of questions for you guys, and actually one thing even just about the whole repair talk, I guess, and also thanks for that new upload, Joe. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, good. Glad you liked it. Thank you.
Hey, you know it. I actually still have, it's funny because, even Spence, you've mentioned about, generally when people go in for a transplant and the doctors will say, oh, yeah, we do these all the time. They're common. It's a outpatient procedure, it's, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I still have the same kind of caution about even if for sure, when I look at Joe's docs that he works with, I have some in mind that I consider for sure. I still have some ambivalence about it not, they sound like right on and ethical and the whole deal. Just ambivalence about, we do repairs all the time too. You know what I mean? Not it being a sale pitch necessarily, but I have the same caution or trepidation about seeing anyone at this point, because I feel like I was fucked up the first time.
Because you're already fucked up.
Yeah, you know.
So of course you're gonna be a little gun shy.
Yeah.
It only makes sense. Listen, here's the reality. Like Dr. Yazdan, I mean, I'm sure a large percentage, and he's told me, I don't know the exact percent of his practice are repair surgeries. He does have a practice in Las Vegas as well, and Las Vegas is as bad, if not worse, than the UK to have a hair transplant, because at least the UK you got a handful, like 3 or 4 guys who are doing it really well. He is the first, in my view, guy in the Las Vegas, Nevada area that is actually doing really good surgery. So, again, that's just my opinion. So I'm sure he's correcting a lot of what's happening out there. So a lot of the good guys and guys who are, in the IHRS and guys that Joe works with directly, they're doing a lot of repair surgery, so they're not lying to you.
Yeah.
Because there's more need for repair surgery today than ever before because of just sheer volume of bad surgery.
True.
When I started, everything was fucked up. I mean, the industry was really screwed up, but it was much smaller. So there were less people being harmed. There were less walking wounded. Now it is like a fucking epidemic.
You should put out a fanzine for hair transplants, calling the walking wounded. almost like a Walking Dead kind of like cover, cartoonish kind of thing.
Dude, get that set up. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, exactly.
That should be funny, right? So yeah, actually two questions is, well, one of them is, let's see. So if, being that I got fucking, I didn't get put onto FIN until after my procedure, if FIN isn't working for me and I've had a transplant, what are some good alternatives, if any?
Listen, we know finasteride. Now, is it not working for you, or you're having side effects?
Well,
or
I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, I guess the question is 6 months worth across a year even enough to know? Is that not even taking it for a full year? You know what I mean? So I guess I'm still in the waiting game period, and
you're still in the waiting game.
Yeah,
I would say you are. I know a guy who I used to go to the bars with in New York, and a friend of mine, and he was on it for well over a year, and I may have talked to you about this guy, and he didn't think anything was working. And then about a year and a half in, he's like, "Holy shit, this works! It's working."
Yeah. I think
keep in mind what's going on. It's like you've got hair that's being miniaturized and affected by DHT, and once you start taking the medication, it starts working pretty fast, but you don't see the results of how that's working for quite a while. Maybe some hair was induced into a shock state. And so let's assume that that's the case, at least some of it. So how long does it take for that to come back on its own? Well, in my experience, about 3 to 5 months. So if that happened for even some of the hair that was being affected, it's 6 months. You've got, maybe a month worth, maybe 2-3 months worth of a little bit of growth of some hair that were affected, and others that haven't, turned around yet. And I mean, it's just a process. And if you look at hair transplants,
I want to interrupt. You got to excuse me for a second. I got to get some more coffee, so I'm going to put the camera on Joe so he can finish answering your question.
Cool.
So if you look at with a hair transplant, the grafts don't suddenly start growing at the same time. It's a gradual process that takes anywhere from 3 to 5 months for the first signs of growth.
Yeah.
On average, and then you got your 6 months, then you got your 8 months, and you still have sprouts coming through. 9 months even. And so it's kind of the same process when you're taking finasteride or anything that disrupts the growth cycle in order to improve the growth cycles, because that's what we're actually doing. It takes time, and it's not all at once. Some guys, like Spencer talks about how he was an early bloomer, so to speak, with finasteride. I was an early bloomer with surgery, but it just takes time. And so 6 months, a lot of people do see an improvement if they're going to see an improvement, but a lot of people don't. So I think a minimum of 9 months. I've told people 6 months in the past, but that's usually for determining whether you're going to have side effects or not. In fact, it's usually 2 to 3 weeks you're going to tell if you're going to have side effects. But 9 months, I think, is more than fair to see if you're going to be able to say conclusively if you're having any sort of positive results from the medication. 1 year, absolutely, you'll know for sure. And it may be a situation where you don't change at all. Like there is no net gain as far as the aesthetic is concerned, as far as the visual component goes, but there might be a stabilization, right, to where you don't get worse. And in my view, if you can keep it from getting worse, then you win. That's what you want to do, because you're setting up a baseline for the future, right? If you do have more procedures.
I mean, that's why I haven't even considered a procedure for, as I said on the chat or to you, for another year or two, just until I get stabilized. Because after the transplant and when I got on FIN, all I'd really seen is loss and the scalp pain and all the bullshit. You know what I mean? It's just gotten worse. And so it makes me think, am I not taking enough? Because, when I'm on it, I do feel kind of shitty. And whether I'm an anomaly or not, I still feel like I know a bunch of people the people who post on forums, and I know it seems like there's the anomaly factor, but I still feel like, maybe it's just not working for me, and I guess that's a possibility. But just to see the loss in the effluviums is so fucked up after transplant.
It is a possibility, but keep in mind that statistically it's unlikely. You have a stronger chance of maintaining baseline than you do improving the aesthetic.
Right.
And then the least probable outcome is for it to just not have any effect at all, to where you actually regret, you continue to lose hair. That's the least likely outcome. So the odds are in your favor. Just have patience.
Yeah. I'm trying. That's the biggest bitch of it all. I guess the second question while I have you, Joe, is if I want to, since I've had some loss or effluvium, what would be? I mean, I was thinking about maybe seems like such a sellout move to go for PRP to maybe stimulate some of that loss. But the real question is, why would someone go for PRP as opposed to cortisone injections?
Well, cortisone injections are, okay, you got to look at what they're trying to treat. Like with cortisone injections, you're not trying to treat hair loss, you're trying to treat some sort of inflammation or some sort of scar formation.
Right.
Like people with keloid formations, that's a typical treatment because it arrests the formation of the scar. It slows it down and arrests that issue, so that hair can have a chance to regrow. So it's two different things. It's like taking aspirin for a headache and an antibiotic for the same headache. It doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
So when you see people getting cortical steroid injections, it's for a completely different reason, and it's a rare reason at that. It's not common that that's done. But PRP and things like that, I don't know if this was going to be part of your question, but if you want to try that, absolutely try that. But my advice, my non-doctor advice, would be to wait until you've given your finasteride at least 9 to 12 months to see what it's going to do, so that if you do have PRP, then if that's going to add something to the baseline that you set up with your finasteride. But at the same time, always understand that with anything that you do that's going to alter, positive or negative, your growth cycles, the chance of some form of shock is always present. Okay, so never ever forget that. I don't care if it's PRP, I don't care if it's laser, I don't care minoxidil, whatever. It can all do the same thing and cause you to lose hair temporarily.
And cool. And when you say 9 months of treatment of FIN, you mean actually not just 9 months across time, but actually 9 months worth of medication, right? You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
You mean as opposed to you taking it 3 times in 9 months versus every day or every other day?
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, it's assuming you're being consistent with your intake frequency.
Okay. That makes sense.
So have you been consistent? Forgive me for not remembering, but did we talk about easing you into it on my graduated scale?
Yeah, I mean I've been consistent all the way through across this whole year, 2 to 3 times a week. Hasn't changed.
Okay.
So I've maintained the baseline,
Okay, and have you been considering the dosage at all? Maybe upping it to a solid 3 times a week instead of sometimes 2?
Oh, definitely. I just sometimes feel a little shitty, and it's honestly not like a psychosomatic response or anything like that. It's just how my body feels while on it, And it's not like me being worried about shit or any of that kind of thing. It's just the physical response that I have.
But are you anxious about other things in your life? Do you have a natural tendency for anxiety of any sort?
Yeah, I mean,
the guy used to take Klonopin, man.
But
I don't remember
honestly,
that.
I remember everything. It's like I'm like a steel trap up here, man.
It's honestly, yeah. I mean, I have ridiculous stress in my life, and it's honestly, I don't feel like it's an anxiety issue with regards to the medication, but maybe it does exacerbate any predisposed shit that I've had.
Absolutely, my friend. Yeah, of course, of course. And forgive me for not remembering that issue.
No.
But yeah, I mean,
I hate the stigma,
of course, dude. I mean, anxiety is a big contributor to just overall, daily activity. I mean, how you feel about things, how you feel about yourself. I mean, it's, books and, courses and, movies and all kinds of things have been produced about this very subject. So, of course.
Why do you think Jack Daniels exists? That's why.
Exactly.
Everyone's asking me in the chat, why am I drinking a Red Bull? Well, you're right. I didn't feel like making any more coffee. And I'm probably going to go out after this. So I wanted a little picking up before I brought myself down.
It's funny though, Spence, you had asked, sorry, I didn't cut off the caffeine tangent, is, I remember once calling in and said, I was Googling shit, and you were like, oh, you're back on Google, and I was like, oh, it might be diffuse alopecia areata, and then after that, I have 2 docs telling me it looks like it is. So it's just hard to try and to find that reasonable balance, of like, here's what's actually happening, here's not, it's none of it's imagined, all that bullshit. So,
look, I know.
The patience and waiting game is the bitch of it all. It just sucks.
Well, dude.
Worse than a transplant. Like, transplant was money. Like, as you always say, Joe, it's like the actual procedure itself is easy compared to the waiting game. But I think just the loss after the fact, starting to end after the fact, just fucking it's killing me. It's so hard.
Yeah.
But,
well, we're gonna
transplant.
We're gonna let you go, but the one thing that I think the people who may just be tuning in and don't know is that you probably didn't even need a transplant when you went for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I mentioned that I was getting more ass then than I am now because now I'm more reclusive and fucking worried about shit. So no doubt that's the biggest, the social piece about it.
So again, I think that's it's a cautionary tale for people who are kind of rushing into, who see a little hair loss. They're rushing into the game. They don't realize what the possible downsides, the entire scope and possible pitfalls of surgery and the emotional roller coaster. The fact that for some people, surgery can then exacerbate their hair loss. And these things are normally not discussed when you sit down and have a consultation with some physicians or some consultants. So you need to really educate yourself ahead of time. And I'm sorry to use your pain as, I'm not trying to exploit your
No.
your
I'd
pain.
rather it be shared. It should be shared. That's what I'm here for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are here for me, but I'm here for everybody else.
And I appreciate that, man. Listen, we wish you the best of luck. We'll speak to you probably next week.
Yeah, right? No doubt.
All right, man. You take care, Nico. Okay.
Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hi, Spencer. Hi, Joe. This is Tim from Germany.
Hey, Tim from Germany.
Hello, Tim. How's it going, buddy?
Do you remember me?
I do remember you.
Yes.
And I just want to let a certain German forum owner know that Germans love the show.
They do.
Yes. And I appreciate you taking the time to call from Germany. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up on my taking in the Propecia for 3 months now. So if you remember, I needed 6 months and 2 doctor's appointments to get the prescription for Propecia because we have this universal healthcare in Germany. And I started with 0.5 milligrams a day, and I'm doing fine. I mean, I got now a C-cup, and I'm a little bit lactating on the left breast.
You know what? I love a German guy with a sense of humor.
I love the dry delivery on that. That was beautiful.
That was perfect.
It's my kind of humor.
No side effects at all.
Call us when you're a D-cup.
So I need to update my Tinder profile on that. Some people, some girls like it. I guess.
Joe from Staten Island would love it. What?
So go ahead, man.
What's going on, man?
I got this little side effect. I guess you mentioned it a couple of times on the show. The kicked in the balls feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, but it went away like after 4 weeks or so, and there are no obvious side effects now. So I'm considering upping the dose at some point. But
here's the thing, though. I mean, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but you might want to see what kind of results you're getting before you even put more drug into your body.
Yeah, I agree. Look, it's obviously affecting you somehow at the dosage and frequency that you're doing. So that's a good thing. That's a good sign. It means that I had the same issue. I started off 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and there was an improvement for me after 9 months, as noted by Dr. Wong. So you don't always need to up the dosage. You can if you want to, but maybe see how this works out at your current dosage.
Yeah, it's like I can't see my hair because I'm wearing my rocks. But every 4 weeks, I got my rock service with my hairstylist, and
that's right, yeah.
she was noticing last time that she said she's always cutting my my head on the sides and on the back very short, and she said like, "Whoa, you got so much hair there." I don't know if it's affecting the area which is not affected by DHT too. But that's what she noticed. I didn't notice it at all.
Well, one thing we've learned over the past, quite a while, is that the donor hair is not always resistant to DHT. My own case 15 years ago proves that DHT does affect donor hair, at least to a degree in some people. We know some people do lose hair in the donor area, but my own donor zone strengthened after starting finasteride myself. So I completely understand what you're saying, and I'm here to tell you that you're not imagining that. It can and many times does improve the donor hair, just like it does, miniaturized hair in the traditional patterns of loss.
So it could be a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you would say I should wait it out with my current dosage of 0.5 milligrams
I would.
A day.
I would. I understand the desire. It's like, okay, well, I've gotten over the hump, so let's, more is better. But save that. I look at it like this: if you're getting results now, you've gotten through, you've gone over the hump of the side effect, the ball ache. You're through that, and you're seeing an improvement already at this stage. Then keep that higher dosage as a backup, for say 2 years from now, 3 years from now. If you think, okay, well, maybe it's not as effective as it was, maybe I've reached a plateau, then maybe consider, upping it to a higher frequency or a bigger dosage. But there's no need at this point, in my view, to change anything. I just stay the course.
And I think it's important that we both preface this by saying that we're not physicians, and you should definitely talk to your doctor about it. But it is definitely my view. Listen, I'm a guy who has succeeded, for a long time, taking one dose once a week of 5 milligrams. Now, most physicians will tell you that doesn't make any sense. But once the drug is built up in your body for a long enough period of time, you can absolutely, in my view, and just based on a lot of research that I've done, do intermittent therapy. So you are kind of doing the opposite, right? Well, not the opposite, but you were taking the smaller dose. You are taking what, 3 days a week, you said?
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
0.5 milligrams.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So it's 3.5 milligrams a week.
Yeah, I would say that less is more, man. If you can deal with it, you're not having any adverse side effects right now. You did suffer with some adverse side effects, the modest ones, and they were transient. Give it a little time. You could always up your dosage. That's the great thing about it. It's there.
Yeah, it seems to be great advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe just a funny story. Last time we were talking, you seemed to be amazed about the universal healthcare system here in Germany, because I had to wait like 6 months for 2 doctor's appointments, one with a urologist and one with
I'm not amazed. I'm just like that. Everyone wants free healthcare. This is what you get for universal healthcare. I definitely think that there should be some sort of subsidy or free healthcare for the indigent in the U.S. But people who are like want universal health care and think, it's a something that everyone should have, and the system is always broken.
Yeah, and I got a funny story from today actually, because it's like dating back several months. I got this allergy. I don't know how it's called in English. I guess house dust mites or something.
Yeah, dust mites. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Dust mites. Yeah,
dust mites. So I went to the allergy doctor several months ago,
Jesus.
and she prescribed me some nasal spray. So what they do in Germany now is they can only charge the healthcare once a quarter of a year. So they're trying to give you a follow-up appointment only in the next quarter.
Oh my God.
So what you could have done is prescribe me a nasal spray and prescribe me encasings for my mattresses and bed sheets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't do it. She just put it in the next quarter. But in the end of the next quarter, so my next follow-up is in the quarter after. So she can always charge me. Because if you do a follow-up in the same quarter, they can't charge you anymore in Germany.
That is so sad and pathetic. I mean, isn't there a way that you can just say, "Hey, look, here's some cash. I need some help"?
Nope.
Yeah, just no. There's no because that wouldn't be social. You just can't buy your way into it.
Right.
And
I understand that. Yeah.
There's the possibility you can go private, but if you go private once, you can't go back to the universal healthcare system again.
They punish you for trying to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and what they do then is to up the monthly charge every year. So when you're 70, you need to cancel everything, so you're not insured anymore because you can't live.
That's unbelievable.
Too much.
That is unbelievable.
But wait for it.
Yeah.
So my last appointment, they prescribed me these encasings for the mattresses and the bed sheets. So today I got a call from the company who produces these bed sheets, and they told me that my insurance doesn't cover the sheets, so they cover only the mattress. And what they did now, they told me, our product is the best, and you don't sweat at night. It's the best encasing, and the sales pitch began. So they told me they could give me a discount and a special offer as I got this prescription for the sheets, but I will need to pay them by myself. So I said I would call her back, and I took a little investigation on the internet, and it's 3 times the price.
Oh yeah, I mean,
of the usual.
Why wouldn't you just go online and go to Amazon Germany or whatever and just buy the sheet encasings and the sheets?
Yeah, everybody should do this.
Yeah,
but people think I got universal health care, and I'm paying every month, and you trust to the doctor. You're trusting the companies who work with the doctor, and in the end, they're overcharging you.
That's exactly.
There's no competition.
Absolutely. That's the way it works, and that's why socialized medicine does not work.
At least,
go ahead.
In some parts of it.
Well, let's put it this way. I know a Canadian woman who found a lump in her breast, and she had to wait 4 months.
For it to grow.
4 months to see a physician, or 4 months to get a mammogram. 4 months. Now, luckily, everything was okay, but imagine that.
Imagine that. If it would have been cancer, it could have spread, and
that's right. And
I will say
that was short.
I'm not I'm not a fan of universal healthcare, but I will say that there are instances where it does help, because I do have a friend that has been battling with lymphoma for quite a while, off and on, and it's been nothing but great for him. Now, to his credit, he knows people in the field who to talk to, but he's still around, and he should have left probably 5 years ago. And the thing about it is he's been out 0 pennies, whereas normally he wouldn't be able to afford the insurance for any of his treatments. So
right.
That's the one good example I've seen of universal healthcare. But in general, it's a bad idea. I mean, wait lines, just like if you have an emergency, you're not automatically taken in. You gotta, I mean, when they have wait times on the local radio stations for emergency room visits, you know it's bad. They actually announce it 4 times a day.
Wow.
At such and such hospital, 3 hours wait. At such and such hospital, 3.5 hours. It's like, why is that even a thing? You know?
Well, look, man, listen, we appreciate the call. Where in Germany are you?
In Rostock. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Yes.
I haven't.
200 kilometers north of Berlin, at the Baltic Sea. Very, very nice region.
Wow. That sounds beautiful.
Very cool.
Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to the broadcast, call live from Germany. I think it's a great example to a specific certain German forum owner to let him know that Germans listen to the show. So
they do.
And obviously speak English.
And obviously speak English, exactly. But listen, man, good luck. I'm glad that you're not actually a C cup. I'm glad that your side effects have been transient. And, keep us, no pun intended, abreast of the situation. And if you decide to up your dosage, here's the good news. You have, room. You're not even taking 1 milligram a day. So, you want to kind of save it and see how you do.
Thank you for the advice. And thank you for your work. And Joe, nice video on Dr. Cole. It was very enjoyable.
I told him that.
Thank you.
I said that was a great video. He's like, it was definitely one of his best videos, for sure.
Thank you.
I did like it.
Yeah. All right, man.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care.
Take care, Tim.
Bye.
All right, let's call it a day. Guys, I'm sorry I can't take any more calls. We've been doing this for almost 2 hours. Give out the forums that actually are embedding our broadcast.
And I meant to do that at the beginning of the show. I had it on the tip of my tongue, and then you just wouldn't shut up.
Dude, we were fucking busy as hell. What are you going to
do? All right, so starting off with, let's see, what did I do? You guys didn't hear me last week, or last broadcast. Starting off with international-hairlossforums.com or international-hairlossforum, singular.com. It's the French hair loss and hair restoration forum. Lots of great clinics participate and lots of great patients share their experiences. They do support our message, and that's why they allow us to embed this broadcast into their forum. That's international-hairlossforum.com. Next up, we got bellicapelli.forumfree.it. It's the Italian hair loss and hair restoration forum. And I know the owner, I know all the owners, but I know the owner of this forum. He is a repair patient. He supports what we do. He's been a very long-time friend of mine, friend of the show. Again, great clinics participating, sharing their results, patients sharing their experiences, which is the most important part. That's bellicapelli.forumfree.it. And finally, our friends over at hairlossexperiences.com, a UK-based hair loss and hair transplant forum, patients sharing, clinics sharing, everyone sharing, and they support our message and allow us to broadcast through their property. That's hairlossexperiences.com.
And guys, check out Joe Tillman's personal website at hairtransplantmentor.com for everything Joe. You can see his hair transplant journey from where he was, which wasn't so great, to where he is today, which is fucking fantastic. Repair patient, non-surgeries, and not that you need non-surgeries to look like Joe. He just happened to have the ability to have those non-surgeries, and they were small surgeries in general. So check out
half of them were.
Yeah. So that's hairtransplantmentor.com. Check out thebaldtruth.com for archives of this broadcast. That's thebaldtruth.com. And do me a favor, subscribe to The Bald Truth. Just put your email address in there. We do not sell or provide your email address to anyone. But we will be doing a lot of stuff to the site soon, which you guys will see. So you all want to be kind of notified as soon as that happens. So that's thebaldtruth.com. Also, Joe Tillman's YouTube page, which is youtube.com/hairtransplant-mentor. Subscribe to the show. Guys are actually in the chat room. I only see 12 likes, and there were like 40-something people in Joe's chat at a time, at any given time. So like the show. It helps Joe's YouTube page. It helps the program, and it helps to educate consumers. It's not a big deal. Take the time to like the show. Also, subscribe to Joe's page. And once you subscribe, click that bell so that you can get notified when we are live on Joe's page. Also, everyone listening on Stitcher, iTunes Radio, iHeartRadio, we'll be live again on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Also, the American Hair Loss Association, AmericanHairLoss.org, the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. I should just get something that just flashes on the screen with all the websites.
You should.
That's
exactly.
IAHRS. Yeah, but then people who are listening can't hear it. It's IAHRS.org for the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. And if you are someone who wants to communicate with other hair loss sufferers, check out our message forum, which is baldtruthtalk.com. But remember, it's a fucking message forum, guys. We try to keep it as moderated as possible, but most people are anonymous on message forums. So take whatever information you get from any message forum, including mine, with a grain of salt, unless you know where that information is coming from. That's baldtruthtalk.com. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
Bud Light presents Real American Heroes.
Real American heroes.
Today we salute you,